I now call the special open council meeting of Monday, August 31st, 2020 to order and request that everyone turn off their cell phones for the duration of the meeting. As we have members of council participating electronically, I'll ask the acting clerk to do a roll call to begin the meeting. Members of council are to respond verbally to the roll call and when voting on all matters today. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bush.
Present.
Councillor Carlucci. Not present. Councillor Martin McKinnon.
Can't hear you, Madam Clerk.
Councillor Martin McKinnon.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Shane McKinnon.
Present.
Councillor McKay. Not present. Councillor Price. Present. And Mayor Wilson.
Present. So I will ask the acting clerk to ask for someone to move and second the motion of the special open meeting.
Okay, we need somebody to move in second, opening this meeting. Okay, Councillor Price and Councillor Martin, thank you. Moved by Councillor Price, seconded by Councillor Martin McKinnon. The council convene a special open meeting of council for the purpose of discussing the following items. Under staff reports, bylaws, and motions. A, staff report AD 2020-32, Dryden Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation. B, staff report AD 2020-31, Enbridge Vacant Land Purchase Agreement, along with bylaw 4768-2020. C, staff report AD 2020-33, Recidia Dryden Working Circle. And D, bylaw 4769-2020, Confirmatory bylaw.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'd like to call for declaration of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act with respect to the agenda for this meeting. All right. I'd like to ask Mr. Nesbitt to present the staff reports.
Thank you, Your Worship. So my first report is in regards to the Dryden Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation transfer of assets to the Kenora District Services Board. The recommendation for the report reads as follows, that the Dryden Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation Board, City Council, hereby pass a resolution directing the Mayor or designate and Acting Clerk of the City of Dryden to terminate the Property Management Operational Services Agreement, deemed the Management Agreement, between the Dryden Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation and Direct Management Services Incorporated, with the termination of the management agreement taking effect November 30th, 2020, in accordance with the provisions of the management agreement. So as we work through the transfer of assets with the service manager, Kenora District Services Board, and as we discuss the situation of Dryden Nonprofit Housing Corporation, both parties feel that the best course of action is the recommendation for the termination of the management agreement with DMSI. There is a provision, a 90-day termination provision notice in the agreement that, of course, we would adhere to. But the recommendation is for the board to issue that termination notice effective immediately. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councillor Bush.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, just for clarification, so with the termination of that agreement, then under the provisions of the transfer, KDSB would take over the management of the housing?
Through the chair, if that's correct.
Yeah, and so with respect to this contract, if KDSB and the city were not satisfied with the management being provided by the current provider in the period between September 1st and November 30th, would KDSB be able to take over the management of those assets as long as they just paid out the existing manager? Is that flexibility there, do you know?
Through the chair, I think the best course of action is to follow the terms and conditions of the agreement. So the agreement specifically states that the termination clause is to provide a 90-day notice of termination. The contract itself is set to expire at the end of this year, December 31st, 2020. But again, that 90-day notice would come into play as well to avoid an automatic renewal of the contract.
Okay.
Yes.
One further question through the chair then. So KDSB for that 3-month period would just be working through them for the management of those facilities then?
Through the chair, correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Comments, questions? Okay. If you can, acting clerk, find a first and a seconder.
Can I have someone first and second the motion, please? Councillor Mark McKinnon, Councillor Price, okay. Moved by Councillor Mark McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Price, that as per the recommendation in staff report AD 2020-32, Dryden Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation Board, City Council, authorize the mayor, designate an acting clerk, terminate property management / operational services agreement between the Dryden Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation and Direct Management Services, Inc., DMSI, to take effect November 30, 2020, in accordance with the agreement's provisions.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So, next, the Enbridge vacant land purchase agreement. Oh, sorry. Councillor McKinnon, Councillor Shane.
Mr. Mayor. I don't know if Councillor Martin is having the same issue, but I cannot hear Councillor Bush very well. Madam Clerk, I can hear Mr. Nesbitt and yourself quite very good on the mic there, but I didn't catch half of what Councillor Bush said, nor the clerk.
Okay. Would someone want to summarize what Councillor Bush was asking and where it went for the sake of the online councillors? Your main concern, Councillor Bush.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, I didn't have any concerns really. I just asked the question whether or not in the period between September 1st and November 30th, should KDSB be unhappy with or dissatisfied with the current management provider, whether they could take that over and just simply pay the monthly fee. And I believe CAO Roger Nesbitt basically said that their intention would be to work with the current provider until the 30th. And that was really the essence of my questions.
Okay.
And through the chair, that is the intention, is to work with the current management agreement holder through that notice period.
Okay. Now, did that come through all right? All right. Okay.
Yep.
So no problems with the other questions? All right. So we'll move on to the Enbridge vacant land purchase agreement, and we need someone to move in second. Sorry? And we need... Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm in a hurry.
We can move right to it. Through the chair, thank you. My next report, as Mayor Wilson indicated, deals with a land purchase agreement that's being submitted to the city. So the recommendation for this report reads that Council enact bylaw 4768-2020, thereby executing the Enbridge Gas Incorporated Agreement of Purchase and Sale for a Norwell Industrial Subdivision 5.5 acre parcel of land. So Enbridge has approached the city, and working through our staff group has provided the agreement of purchase and sale for that 5.5 acre parcel, worth in total approximately $137,500, or what it really is $25,000 per acre. The survey has yet to be done on that parcel, so the actual total parcel size may vary, either slightly less, slightly more than the 5.5. Once the survey is done, the final selling price will be determined based on that $25,000 per acre of property. The buyer also recognizes that there is some unfinished city assets in the Norwell subdivision, and they've approached the city expressing an interest to have an option in the land sale purchase agreement that would basically allow them to, under city guidance and and approval would allow them to finish those city assets in the Norwell subdivision, and in turn the city would agree to provide a community improvement plan tax increment equivalent grant back to the buyer, and that grant would basically be in the amount of the cost to finish those city assets minus the costs associated with the assets fronting their parcel of land. So we deem the value to finish those assets, or total cost to finish those assets, at approximately $800,000. So again, it's difficult to estimate everything, because the way that that particular CIP program works, it's based on impact assessments, final assessments. So to determine exact numbers, we really have to wait until the end of the project. But we see it as a possible 20 to 25 year payback through that tax increment equivalent grant. So if there's any questions from council, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions, anyone? Councillor Bush?
Yes. Yeah, just so I'm clear with my question, I do support this particular recommendation, but just for clarification, the tax estimate right now is based on the anticipated build on that property by Enbridge?
Through the chair, that's correct. Again, I would state that they're very rough estimates, because they're in the we're in the very initial steps of any kind of development on that property. So staff, just based on unofficial knowledge that we have of the project, looked at what we felt might be equivalent type of properties in the area and assessments associated with those properties, and that's where the initial numbers came from, as far as the duration of the increment equivalent tax grant.
Councillor Bush?
Yeah, through the chair, just a supplementary question. So are any future developments on that property subject to assessment, or are all future developments on that property kind of tied in with this particular agreement? So if they build something 3 or 4 times bigger than what we anticipate today, would that be subject to future assessment, or would that be covered under this agreement? And
through the chair, so any development on that property would be assessed by impact. The CIP application would be for the initial project that's detailed through that application process. It wouldn't cover any subsequent development into the future. If I've explained it well enough.
yeah, yes, you have. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a question, Roger. Just on item number 26 on the commission, I'm trying to figure out how that works. Is that just kind of an automatic thing? Enbridge came to us, right, looking for land, yet we have to pay a commission. Is that just an arrangement that Enbridge has, and that's part of the terms of the agreement?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so we need a mover and a seconder.
Yes, could I have someone move and second? Councillor Martin and Councillor Bush, thank you. Moved by Councillor Martin McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Bush, that bylaw 4768-2020 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement of purchase and sale between Enbridge Gas Inc. and the Corporation of the City of Dryden with respect to a 5.5 acre portion of property located in the Norwell subdivision be read a first, second, and third time.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, City of Dryden Working Circle.
Thank you, Your Worship. So my final report this morning is again in relation to the City of Dryden Working Circle. The recommendation of the report reads that the City of Dryden Council appoint Cheryl Edwards, Neil McLeod, Lisa Cochette, Lloyd Napish, Councillor Norm Bush, Councillor Michelle Price, Councillor Shane McKinnon, and myself as CAO to the Master Plan Steering Committee, subcommittee, that we're referring to as the Working Circle. So back in July of this year, Councillor Norm Bush brought forward a notice of motion to Council, thereby recommending the creation of the Working Circle, and Council accepted that motion at that time, asking Councillor Bush, Price, and Shane McKinnon and myself to move forward with basically finding other members for that working circle. And since then, the members of the subcommittee have been working hard to do that. So I'm happy to again provide the following recommendation for appointees for Cheryl Edwards, Lisa Couchette, Neil McLeod, and Lloyd Napish. So once the appointments are made to the working circle, the plan is to start immediately in September, with the group and moving our initiatives and goals forward. So I would like to open it up to the other three councillors at this time, if Your Worship allows for, to provide any other further comments and answer any questions that the other councillors might have.
Comments? Questions? Councillor Bush?
Yes, just like to say that certainly the city representatives, Councillors Shane McKinnon, Councillor Price, CAO Roger Nesbitt, and myself, I think we're very impressed with the discussions that we had with the candidates for the working circle, and very much looking forward to getting on with the business of implementing our strategic plan items, but more importantly, strengthening and fostering better relations with our Indigenous community members, and especially in these times, as we can see north and south of the border with all of the strife that's taking place in society. We think we can do some things in Dryden that will help propel Dryden forward in a very constructive and meaningful way. And I'm sure Councillor Price and McKinnon also have some thoughts on that as well.
Great, thank you.
And our CAO.
Thank you. Councillor Shane McKinnon?
Thank you. I think just to echo the sentiments of Councillor Bush and Mr. Nesbitt, and I think we are very fortunate to have those folks named in the working circle. They're really leaders in the community and in the area, and to have those folks at the table, along with Councillors Price and Bush and Mr. Nesbitt, I think that we can really expect some thoughtful and timely recommendations to Council to make our community a better place. I think this is long overdue. I'm very, very excited that this Council is taking this on through our strategic plan, and I look forward to participating.
All right, thank you. Councillor Price?
Thank you. Yes, I'm very excited to be a part of the working circle myself, and I feel that the 4 Indigenous members that came forward and
Let's just in the mic.
The 4 that did come forward and express an interest in being part of the working circle, I think that they were all good choices, and I'm really looking forward to working with them. And as Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Bush have both said, I think a lot of good things are going to come out of this. So yeah, thank you.
All right, Roger, any comments?
Through the chair, I've said in the past, this is important work. It's work that we need to do. I can't wait to get started, and I really appreciate the council's leadership on this, both through the provision of our municipal strategy
All right. Yes, and I've mentioned this before, but you know what we want as council is to make sure that we're inclusive when we have dialogue on topics such as this, and we want to be transparent. It's going to be an educational process. That's hopefully what's going to be a big benefit that comes out of this is we become more educated about ourselves and about each other, and also more respectful. And I'm sure that the dialogue will be straightforward and it'll be inclusive. So I'm looking forward to it as well. So we need a mover and a seconder.
Councillor Price and Councillor Shane. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Price, seconded by Councillor Shane McKinnon, that as per the recommendation in Staff Report 80-2020-33, Council appoints Cheryl Edwards, Neil McLeod, Lisa Couchette, Lloyd Napish, Councillor Norm Bush, Councillor Michelle Price, Councillor Shane McKinnon, and the City of Dryden CAO Roger Nesbitt to the Master Plan Steering Subcommittee called the Working Circle.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. On to confirmatory bylaw. Allison?
Okay, if I could have someone move and second the confirmatory bylaw, please. Councillor Bush, Councillor Price. Moved by Councillor Bush, seconded by Councillor Price, that bylaw 4769-2020 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be read a first, second, and third time.
All in favor? Carried.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, we need someone to move and second a motion to adjourn.
Councillor Price, Councillor Bush, thank you. Moved by Councillor Price, seconded by Councillor Bush, that this meeting do hereby adjourn.
All in favor? Carried.